The expression, the good, the bad, and the ugly, is based on a famous 1966 movie, an Italian epic spaghetti western film. While the meaning of the film is open to interpretation, one take could be that the good, the bad, and the ugly characters are all capable of the best and worst of humanity. Nevertheless, the good is not present at all in any Doomsday cults and in many other religions. These cults only dispense the bad and the ugly. The damage they inflict is bad and ugly. That is the reason for the expression, the good, not present on the title of this video. In our first video, only some cults were described. There are many more. Even religions that are perceived as less damaging in our time still endorse the concepts contained in the last book of the Christian's Bible, the Apocalypse. By embracing the teachings of that book, they also share the idea of an Armageddon and the end of the world. In this part 2, we present some type of facts comparison about the bad and the ugly of 4 of the cults presented in the previous video. It is up to each individual viewer to determine which of these 4 cults have inflicted the most damage. This video just presents the facts. Very important note, we value life as the most treasured human possession. Even one single death inflicted by submitting to the doctrines and dogmas imposed by a religion is absolutely unacceptable. Additionally, we acknowledge that other religions not mentioned in this series of 2 videos, as the Catholic Church and various Protestant churches, have also inflicted pain and death on a great scale. The same applies to many other religions. In fact, all religions past and present were and continue to be a very negative influence for humanity. Jim Jones and the People Temple, mass murder of more than 900 members. David Koresh and the Davidians, kill by fire in Waco, 76 members. Heaven's Door, found dead in San Diego, 39 members. Jehovah's Witnesses. It is estimated that about 1,000 Jehovah's Witnesses die each year a premature death because abstaining from blood transfusions. Thousands of members in Malawi in 1967 were beaten and killed for refusing to purchase a political card of the Malawi Congress Party. About general blood transfusions. Any mature individuals on one's own free will and of course voluntarily, and not because of the pressure and fear of religious doctrines and dogmas and the threat of being disfellowshipped and shunned, should have the freedom to select or reject any medical treatment, including a blood transfusion, in particular for researched and valid medical and health reasons. Religious blood transfusions policies. It is important to note that the Jehovah's Witnesses policy about blood is wrapped in a double standard and two-facedness hypocrisy. According to the Singapore Medical Journal, there is a long history of the Watchtower Society reversing their doctrinal policies. For example, vaccinations were previously prohibited from 1929 to 1952, and organ transplants from 1967 to 1980. Such policies, previously ruled as unacceptable and morally wrong, were now considered acceptable. The hypocrisy related to the blood transfusions policy of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society is clearly demonstrated when on March 9, 1998, the Watchtower Society and the European Commission of Human Rights brokered an agreement with the government of Bulgaria. For Jehovah's Witnesses to be recognized as a religious organization in Bulgaria, the Watchtower Society had to ensure that members should have free choice in the matter of blood transfusions for themselves and their children, without any control or sanction on the part of the association. This was a very deceptive statement because it was simply reclassified from being a disfellowshipping offense to one of disassociation. Despite the subtle difference in procedure, disfellowshipping and disassociation lead to the same announcement to the congregation that the person is no longer one of Jehovah's Witnesses. It is important to recognize that both result in shunning. About Malawi. In 1967, thousands of Jehovah's Witnesses in Malawi were abused and killed because, under directions of the organization, they could not accept an ID card from the only party existing at that time, the one party that was the official government of the country. JW members were told that it was not a matter of conscience. The reasoning the Watchtower leaders used when setting their Malawian brothers up to come in line for such persecution was that witnesses are to be no part of the world. The governing body misused the Bible to set the Malawian brothers up for murder. Many paid with their lives because of blind obedience. It is also despicable and wicked to find out that they applied a different standard to witnesses in other countries, like in Mexico and in Bulgaria. This sickening account of brutal rape, torture, and murder of Jehovah's Witnesses in Malawi is shocking, and the people responsible cannot be excused for their actions. But this could have been prevented by simply purchasing a political card. In Mexico, military service was compulsory for young men. On completion of service, young men would receive a cartilla card, which, similar to the card in Malawi, was required for transactions such as obtaining a passport and a driver's license. Young Mexican witnesses experienced persecution and imprisonment for refusing their obligation to attend military service. In order to relieve this suffering, the governing body ruled that it was acceptable for Mexican brothers to bribe officials to obtain a government cartilla card that exempted them from military service. They didn't relieve the suffering of the Malawi witnesses. In fact, they set them up for the genocide that occurred. Conclusion. Of the 4 cults here considered, 3 have already disappeared, defunct. The one that still remains is the Jehovah's Witnesses cult. They are fighting for their survival. They are in dispute with the judicial authorities of several countries due to the monetary subsidies they are losing. Because of the loss of those subsidies, they are in a race to legally fight to reverse the situation. That is why, among other things, they are in the process of changing many of their long-held beliefs, doctrines, and dogmas. Would they succeed in staying alive? Only time will tell.